Hey, how's it going? This is Professor Wasi of Option Snipers University, and today we are going to be going over the mindset that is required in order for us to become hyper profitable traders in the stock market trading options. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the presentation. All right. So the first things first, what is the expectation? What is to occur in our lives as a result of joining Option Snipers University? Well, one thing's for certain, your life will never be the same. Okay? I'm going to say a couple things here on this topic so that you guys can get an understanding of what's to occur. Okay? Most of you all potentially do not enjoy Mondays. Okay? And then you guys, maybe some of you, potentially live for your weekends. What's going to happen as a result of making money in the stock market is that these things are literally going to switch. You're going to start seeing yourself loving Mondays and literally hating the weekends. Why, you ask? Specifically this, okay? Monday morning, the market opens. Every single Monday, there's an expectation that there's an ability and opportunity for you, yes, you watching this video, to be able to earn an infinite amount of money in the stock market, trading stock options. Okay. Now, what happens during the weekend is what? Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, or sorry, 4 o'clock Eastern, the market is closed. There is no longer an ability for you to make money that day. Okay. What happens is a result of becoming a confident options trader is that Monday through Friday, you are used to every day having money being made in your brokerage account. But then a day like Saturday, a day like Sunday comes about, and there's no opportunity for that. You guys are going to know exactly what I'm talking about once you get to that next level. Let's go ahead and go to the next section here. So that's a little bit about life transformation, right? So, will trading show me who I am as a person? Okay. And this goes a little bit into life transformation a bit here. Okay. I wanted to just give you guys a little bit of an overview, simply as far as just some different lifestyle changes that occur. But what changes as a result of you becoming an options trader is everything. Your decision making changes, the way you spend money changes, the way you see money changes, the way you feel about money changes, how you see money changes, how you're sending money changes, everything, where you keep your money changes. There's so many different variables about who you are as a result of what changes occur being an options trader in the stock market. Okay. So, for instance, most people use a fractional bank for holding their money. Okay. The issue with the bank is that your money is only insured up until a specific amount. However, with a brokerage account, that amount is then heightened. Okay. So, as far as even just that specific situation, you may potentially be more inclined to keep your money in a brokerage account than a fractional bank. Okay. So that's just one scenario. Now, again, if you're a greedy person, that's going to show in your options trading. Okay. Because what happens is you may potentially get into a situation where you win a trade, and immediately what you're thinking about, instead of taking profits, is holding on a little bit longer so that you can make a specific dollar amount, or just so that you can say you made more money than you originally thought you were about to. Okay. A lot of the times we have very what's the word I'm looking for? I guess you could basically just say like unrealistic ideas about the markets. Okay. We can't be greedy and bring our greed to the markets. Okay. We first have to address ourselves, become self aware of what we are doing so that we can then make greater decisions in the markets. Okay. But the great thing about the markets is that it actually gives us the picture of ourselves. It basically puts a mirror in front of us. Okay. How do we react when we take a loss? Okay. That's another situation. Okay. Usually these things allow us to mirror ourselves. We get to see who we truly are when our emotions are on the line. Because for what it's worth, when money's on the table, things get very serious, as you can very well attest to. Okay. So those are the things we want to make sure that we're taking heed to when we're talking about trading and who we are then becoming as a person. Are you a generous person? For me, I'm very generous. I consider myself to be a very generous person. I love giving. Okay. One thing about me is that specifically when there's a big day, somebody's getting blessed. Okay, because for what it's worth, for me, I typically see it as money being made in thin air. Okay, I use my skill set in order for me to make money in a short period of time, which is then allowing me to be incrementally more generous than maybe I potentially would have been initially based off of what I had potentially. Okay, and that's all obviously subjective, right? But for what it's worth, it's great to be able to have this skill set in order to address the needs of our loved ones. And that's one thing I take very seriously about options trading. Okay. It allows me to help my parents, to get things for my children, to assist around the house, do whatever I need to do, for what it's worth, bless people and different things like that. It is definitely a great thing when you're able to take your generosity and essentially 10x it using options trading. It's an amazing feeling. Okay. We have a lot of our students that were able to even give back to their parents, giving their parents money or maybe buying something special for their children or their significant other using options trading. A lot of people were actually even able to do things like pay off student loans, pay for their wedding. I mean, we were able, purchasing family vehicles. We have seen so many great things here at Option Snipers University, and these are things that essentially happen as a result of making specific lifestyle changes. Okay, are you a morning person? Obviously, the stock market opens at 9:30 Eastern every morning. Okay, in order to take advantage of the markets, we typically say you need to have a pre-market plan. Are you getting up early to watch the pre-market session in order for you to take advantage of what's to occur when the market opens? Okay, some of those things we have to then reevaluate. Okay, it's all a learning process, it's all a journey, but along the way we have to make sure that we're continuously becoming self-aware of what we need to change in our lives. And I promise you, you're not only going to see these changes in other areas, you're also going to see it primarily in your brokerage account. Okay, all right, let's go to the next slide here. Should I trade the money that I live off of? All right, let's share the screen here. Should I trade the money that I live off of? Listen, it is always a terrible idea to trade money that you're living off of. I know some people may have had success stories of being able to do that, but here's the problem when we do a situation like this. Okay, when we trade money that we're supposed to be living off of, we are now irrational. Okay, what do I mean by that? If we are losing, we are irrational, and if we are winning, we are also irrational. Because here's what happens in both situations. If we start losing the money that we're living off of, we then hold off on hope, believing that we can then get back to at least a break even point. So it is almost as if you didn't trade in the first place. Okay, it's almost like, all right, God, I'm sorry for making this decision. If you can just give me another chance, then I'm gonna make sure I make the right decision next time. So you might hold on hope, thinking that it's gonna get back to break even, and it never does. Okay, and then you lose your account balance. You never want to get into that situation. Now, on the other side, profit. Let's say you are actually winning on a trade. You put in, let's say maybe $1,000, and you're up maybe 500. You've already made 50% on your money. You become irrational because why? You're thinking about now doubling your initial investment. So the 50% gain may not even necessarily be enough for you because you're thinking about, oh man, but yeah, I have that other car note too. So you're thinking, well, 500 is good, but it doesn't really cover the car note and our other expenses. So, and then you get irrational. And then what happens? Instead of taking your $500 gain, your 500 turns to 200. But then what happens is when it's at 200, you still hold out on hope, thinking what? It's going to get back to 500. Guess what happens? You guessed it right. It never gets back to 500. Instead, it goes even lower and lower and lower. You go not even from break even, you go even lower than break even. You actually start losing money. And then you start questioning, why am I even an options trader? Okay? It's a crazy cycle that happens. Because when you start sowing seeds of doubt based off of things that you were not supposed to do, it then stunts your growth as an options trader and really just all things in life in general. Okay. So that story that just now, it sounded really vivid. It may have happened to you already, but the reason as to why it sounds vivid to you is because it's potentially one of my stories. Okay, that's typically what happens with newer traders. Okay, and we want to make sure that you guys refrain from doing that. So altogether, we say that you should not trade money that you are living off of. Okay, the whole idea of being an options trader is what we call leverage. Okay, so you want to be able to leverage correctly. Now, it's going to be a little difficult for you to leverage something that you're emotionally attached to, especially an amount that we're talking about actually living off of. We're talking about potentially rent money, expenses money. You understand? Those types of situations. We definitely want to make sure that we stay away from doing these things, because we are going to make the wrong decisions in the market 100% of the time. Okay? Again, don't ask me why I know, just take my word for it. All right, let's go ahead and get to the next question here. Let's go ahead and present. Am I going to be a millionaire overnight? Am I going to be a millionaire overnight? Well, I have some good news and I have some bad news for you. The good news is you potentially can actually become a millionaire overnight. It actually is possible. I would actually even say it's even incrementally more possible as an options trader to become a millionaire overnight than it potentially is for any other skill set you can potentially think of. Okay. However, here's the reality. Okay. Here's the reality. The amount of capital it takes for you to become a millionaire overnight may be a little too much for you to think that it's something that you can do consistently. Okay. So, in order for us to set the right expectations here, what we advise you guys to do is focus on the idea of being consistent in the markets, because the consistency is what births the cash. Okay. It's not the other way around. It's not cash that then makes you consistent. Okay. Here's the fact of the matter. Let's say we do make a lot of money in the market on a given day or a given week. Okay. At some point in time, the money has to go somewhere. We use money to run errands for us. We have money and we say, hey, money, go and run this errand. Go get me groceries. Go cut my lawn. Go cut my hair. Okay. That's what we use money for. Is we send money on errands. So our money is going to have to end up going someplace anyway. Okay. What am I saying? Eventually, those big days that you may potentially have in the market, okay, the money is going to be spent. What does that mean? That means we have to make more. Okay, so what is of more importance? Is it the big days or is it the consistency? It is the consistency, okay? Because as long as we live, we're always going to have expenses another day. We may potentially have some sort of emergency that we need money for. So we have to have an ability to make money every single day. So if we are focused on the consistency, the money is going to come. But if we're focused on the cash, it's going to be hard for us to think about being consistent. If all we're going to be thinking about is hitting home runs, throwing a whole bunch of money in the market, and hoping and praying that it comes back to you, we're not going to achieve it. We can never create strategies around things that are simply seldom. Okay? We cannot create strategies around things that are seldom, things that are sometimes. Those are not ways in which we can become profitable traders. Okay, the only things that we decide to be consistent in are things that occur every single day because there's an expectation of those things. Okay, and that's what we teach here at Option Snipers University. Let's go ahead to the next slide here. All right. Should I use a stop loss? Okay, listen, guys, we need to implement stop loss in our strategies. There's simply no room for us to be in a situation where we're going into a trade nakedly, I would say. And when I say nakedly, I'm talking specifically about not having a stop loss. We have to have a stop loss set. Okay. And if it's potentially not set, we need to make sure we know where we're deciding to stop out at if it is manual. Every setup that you're trading in the market, there should be a profit target. There should also be a stop loss target. Okay. If you see your the price action going against you, there is an area in which, based on each setup that you're trading, where you know without a shadow of a doubt there is no point of return. It would not go your direction. That is when you decide to say you're cutting your losses, okay? The reason as to why we do this is specifically because the name of the game is capital preservation. The only way we can win the game is if we are still participants. But we are no longer participants if we do not have capital. So we need to preserve our capital. We need to be in a situation where we're saying we are focused on capital preservation. Okay. That does not mean that we're timid or shy about leveraging our capital. That specifically means when we see that our capital is at risk to a degree that we do not like, we are simply saying we take the small loss and wait for the next setup. Because at the end of the day, guess what? There is a play every day. So you should absolutely have a stop loss. All right, guys. Now, let's go to the next slide here. Let's go ahead and share the screen. We have risk management. What does it mean to have risk management? Guys, it is very simple. A lot of people overcomplicate this idea of risk management. Let me tell you what risk management is, okay? Let me tell you what risk management means to us here at Option Snipers University. When you click a button and you're ready to risk your capital, if your hand starts moving, if you start shaking, if you start getting sweaty, that's too much capital to risk. Okay, because guess what? Would you be afraid to risk a penny right now in the markets? No. Why? Because it's a penny. It's not, the value to you, at least as far as you risking it, you know you're able to go get it, go grab a penny back. Okay. So if it's a situation where you know it's too much capital at hand, you simply do not risk it. Make sure that you're in a situation where you're as emotionless as possible about the amount of capital you're putting up. I'm not saying don't care about having your money in the markets. What I am saying is have your emotions controlled in such a way where you have the understanding of the risk that you're taking when you're putting your capital in the market. Okay. If you're putting in $1,000, you are very sure, or you're very aware that there's a possibility that $1,000 could be risked at any moment in time, that it could decrease anywhere from $999 to zero. All right, guys. So we need to be able to make those types of decisions when we're talking about risk management. Okay. If you have already taken a slightly bigger loss than you usually have, go ahead and close your laptop and wait for the next day, because guess what? There's a play every day. And if there's a play the next day, it's also going to be followed with volatility. If you have already taken a loss and you're going deeper into the trading day, as you go deeper into the trading day, the volatility in the volume in the market continues to descend. So your probability of even getting your money back exponentially decreases because the volatility is not even there to back you up. Okay. So you never want to be in a situation where you're revenge trading. If you've already taken a loss, simply wait for the next moment of volatility, which would be the next day. Okay. These things are being said specifically to guard you from any errors. Okay. Let's go ahead to the next slide. How do I handle a big loss? Listen, after a big loss, you are to simply detach from the market. I suggest go ahead and take at least 3 days away from the market entirely. Don't even look at it. Don't even think about it. Focus mostly on other revenues or other streams of income that you can start to put in play. Okay. Because what's going to happen is as money continues to flow and you decide to get back into the market, when you do become profitable again, you are then able to maximize your business opportunities in the meantime. Okay. We're not simply saying don't trade and stay idle. We're saying still use your energy, your brain juices, your mental capital to find other ways of income so that as you do get back into the market, you can then supplement those ideas. All right, guys. That's how I would say you handle a big loss. Take those 3 days away from the market. Make sure that you are not trading the very following day. Okay. That's probably the biggest thing I would say. Do not trade the following day. I would say at least take a day away from the market. I would require that. Okay. I would recommend it. And I would also require it. Take at least a full 24 hours away from the market, because here's what happens. When you take a big loss one day, the very next day you get into the market hoping and believing that you can now recuperate off of the losses that you lost the previous day. You're then over leveraged. You're then irrational about your decision making between either taking profit or your stop loss being set. And then you end up losing even more money. Okay. Typically, I've seen with new traders, when they have their first big loss, it is then coupled right afterwards with a bigger loss than the first time. Okay. And it's specifically because of what I just mentioned. We're over leveraging, trying to recuperate losses from before. Remember that this is a journey and we need to be patient. Even if you do incur a big loss, it is still possible for you to regain your losses or to recuperate off of your losses, but you have to be rational in your understanding of how you're going to be able to accomplish that. If you know that you've taken, let's say, a $2,000 loss, but you average $300 a day in the market, then simply give yourself the idea that, okay, after 7 trading days, if I do 7 times 300, I would then recuperate my 2,100 back. Because at the end of the day, guess what? Your expenses are not running anywhere. That's the funny part about it. We're so quick and hasty to try to become a millionaire today, that our expenses are not really running anywhere. For the most part, most of our expenses have essentially been the same amount for years and years and years. All that needs to change for us is we just need to make more money, period. We don't have a generational wealth problem. We have a poverty problem usually when we're thinking about how we don't have enough money for the different things that we're doing. All right? So we just simply need to just make more money. We simply just need to make more money. Period. All right, let's go to the next slide. The only successful traders are the ones that don't quit. Okay? The only successful traders are the ones that don't quit. Guess what? If you have not quit as a trader, that means you're successful. That's the definition of what it means to be a successful trader, when you don't quit. Because guess what? The most successful traders I know that are making the most money, they decided that they're not going to quit. That's the only reason why they are big traders. It makes perfect sense. Okay. The only way you don't become profitable is if you quit, is if you don't keep going. So we need to remember and take heed to that. If you take a big loss after a week, that doesn't mean that options trading is not for you. That just means that there's more work that needs to be done for you to get in a better situation to become a hyper profitable trader. Here's the deal, guys. Options trading is the highest income skill set that you can have here in this present day, especially considering that you can literally do it from anywhere in the world as long as you have a computer and Wi-Fi in your brokerage account. Okay? This is a skill set you need. Okay? This is a skill set you have to pass down. It is not going to benefit you to look at this and say you quit. Okay? At the end of the day, there's time and effort and energy that's going to be necessary for you to put in. But guess what? Your reward is infinite because you now have a skill set that anytime you have any amount of money in your hand, you know how to multiply it. Do you know how fascinating that is? Any amount of money in your hand, there is a median in which you know how to multiply it literally the very following day, or at least within 2 or 3 business days. This is a skill set you need to have. It is not going to benefit you to quit. If you quit, you are never going to get to where you need to go. You have to hold on, continue to get through these videos, and decide to implement something from a day-to-day perspective. All right. Now, here's our last slide. We say all the time to compound your confidence. Say it with me. Compound my confidence. Say it one more time. Compound my confidence. We here at Option Snipers University, we want to make sure that you guys are compounding your confidence. Okay. At the end of the day, it doesn't really behoove us to not be confident in the markets. The only way that we can leverage more capital so that we can gain more money is if we are confident in the decisions that we're making. The only way that we can become consistent in being confident is approaching the market with diligence, with an understanding, with focus. Okay. It's not just strategy alone. We need to make sure that our minds are at peace, are at rest, so that we can make great decisions in the market. Okay. Let's compound our confidence and let's build up this cash. All right, guys. I hope this video was great for you. If you like this video, make sure you go ahead and leave a comment below. And if you have any feedback that you would like to offer us so that we can grow together, go ahead and leave those comments as well. With that being said, I'll see you soon. Peace.